If by chance you are dreaming right now, wake up! Welcome to Horror Night! Welcome, everybody. It's your boy, the Versace Stoner. We're here with a very special episode of VSW. You know, and I still have the Horror Nights intro. I know that, but I'm gonna tell you it's a good reason why. When I first saw this person enter, and it was in Dedham, Massachusetts, at NCW, it was like a horror character. He had a mask. There was like some stalking serial killer music, crazy shit going on with the lights. I wasn't scared, but I was intrigued. I wanted to know who was this madman and what's he gonna do here. And right now, he's the reigning champion. That's what he's done there. Welcome, the one and only, the cold hard truth, Johnny Pierce.
Thank you for having me, Versace. I'm happy to be a guest on the VSW podcast once again.
It's been a while. But you still got gold around your waist. Some things never change.
No, they don't.
You know, I got my Pierce City Mafia. You know, I got my Pierce Mafia shirt on, repping.
Yeah,
strong.
man. It's a
Love
sweet
that
shirt.
stuff.
And I know a
It is a
guy
good
who
shirt.
makes some awesome logos. I think you were referencing this bad boy earlier.
You know, I honestly, that night that I saw you, I don't remember the show so much, but you came out. It was like 2 weeks before you started. I mean, 2 shows prior, probably before you started with the commentary and that whole Conway line. But before that, it was like you first came out and like nobody knew who you were. At least I didn't. I've never seen you before at NCW. And I treat every place differently. So when I'm in a place, even if I've seen them elsewhere, if they're in there now, then it's like damn, because they're a new face. And so I saw you though coming in the mask and the music, like I said, the lights going. I'm just like, this is gonna be somebody a little different. There's nobody really like that in NCW right now. There's no big scary men. There's nobody. There's no one that's fast like that. There's no one that's destructive like that. There's no one that is intimidating like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you have your champions, but I think at the time, you know, you had champions like, you know, you got to remember, I when I started watching, I think BRG was the world heavyweight champion. Now, with all the respect to how great BRG is, he's not an intimidating man. He's not big statured, not compared to you yourself. And so, you know, Mike's a great wrestler as well, but he's a little skinny. He's a little lean. He doesn't have as much muscle and mass. Maybe now he does. I did see he's ripped, but for me, you've been like the first like big man in NCW to hold that title. I mean, I know. Well, besides, I think Lumberjack had it for a couple, but it was very shortly lived. If very shortly lived, you know, you were what I would say the pinnacle of being a champion. You looked the part, not only acted but look it. And that's not the only place you hold in gold. Don't you? You still got Supernova gold, don't you not?
Yeah. Got this right here. You know, you talked earlier about first time you saw me, people were just kind of thrown off, like, who is this guy? Why should we care about this guy? I think a little bit of that was by design. I had never made an entrance in that kind of, you know, attire outfit. You know, there's a mask on my face. I remember that show like it was yesterday. It was WrestleFest 18.
Okay.
I was locked in a storyline with Old School Cool Corey Michael.
Yep.
And the reason for the approach to that match was that he had defeated me in the Ring of Thrones tournament to become the king. And so my mindset was that I was going to face him for the crown. And because I felt like I had been wronged and, you know, screwed over. So I felt like I should have been the king. And we basically had a match for the crown. If he won, he got to keep it. And if I won, I would take it from him and then become the king. And he was able to defeat me and keep it. But yeah, that was the idea was.
That was what led up to all that. Now, let me ask you, that match, when you were doing that, did you already have the mastermind that is Kevin Castro behind you, or you had not really got with him yet?
No. everything was kind of done quickly. Where after I finished up with Corey Michael, and that chapter kind of ended, there was a lot of question marks on what was going to happen, where I was going to go, who I was going to face next. And I know he was kind of frustrated with where he was heading and where he was going. So we kind of just talked it over, and we had worked together in the past, and he threw a concept my way, and I just kind of was like, yeah, we've worked elsewhere. We might as well try something here and see if people can get behind it. And it was a fresh start for him and a fresh start for me.
Well, he's been your Paul Hyman now. I mean, he's been your guide. He's been kind of guiding you through victory after victory in that. And he doesn't even have to really cheat to win. You can do it on your own, which is great. But he makes sure that it's going to stay fair and that you're going to be heard. Because sometimes I'll be honest, I don't think the refs want to. If they don't like a guy, they don't play it by the rules like a bad official watching football. But you get that extra leverage. You got someone to make sure it's being called down the line, and that's an important thing to have in wrestling.
Yeah, funny you mentioned that because I know earlier you're talking about the storyline with commentary and Conway. That was kind of the general idea behind that. Is that I felt that some of the commentary things they were saying were derogatory towards myself and Kevin Castro, so I figured I'd go after them. And
Didn't
Conway,
you even like attack Simon Eddy at one point too?
yeah, Simon Eddy came to Conway's aid, and I ended up attacking him as well. Um, we
I
had a
know I think the final match got postponed. It was that nightmare
Yep.
of a
We had a,
showdown,
we had
and
a street fight, and then it
yeah,
got postponed, and then finally happened. And I think that's where we kind of ended that whole
yeah.
scenario at that
I
street fight.
remember though waiting for the actual one at the arcade. I was so excited because it was really fresh at the time, and just that was just battle around. Not that it was anybody's fault. It's just nobody had any idea what was going on because of the ring and the sizing and the location. It was a new location at that time of the year that it kind of threw everybody off. But I like that storyline. I thought it was good, and it kind of it made you kind of the heel that you are in a lot of ways because I mean, who's going to attack a commentator, right? I mean,
Yeah, just wanted a level of unpredictability that, like, if you think you're safe because you sit at this table, the announce table, if you think you're safe and you can say all these things about myself or anyone else that rolls around with me, then I was gonna make it abundantly clear that unless you change your ways, like, I'm going to shut you up. And that was a lot of fun. I used the whole cancellation of the first show as a way to poke fun at Conway for being scared and making sure the venue wouldn't run the show. And we went with that. And that
hey,
was fun.
I think I heard that story, and I think that's probably what happened. I mean,
I wouldn't be
I would
surprised.
be afraid if I had to fight Johnny Pierce and they said you're going to fight me. It doesn't matter if it was an arcade, a street fight, get him. Rhode Island, it don't matter. I think I would have a little fear with that. I don't think I would be so, hey, let's go. I'm going to go off and fight Johnny today. It's not something I think that people want to do.
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to instill a little bit of fear in my opponents, whether I'm the good guy or the bad guy. Um, the size, the strength, the agility. I walk it, I talk it. So
Well,
if
I
you're
mean,
across the ring,
from that point there to when you basically destroyed everybody and you won the Rumble, you did everything. You destroyed both of them in their match as well. Mike and Steve. And, from that point to that point, you would gain crazy momentum in NCW. Like by that point,
yeah, I was really I don't know what's that expression, like when you catch lightning in a bottle. I think that year at NCW, I feel like Castro and I accomplished that where we just kind of hit the ground
what's up,
running and
Carver family? How you doing?
what's going on. We just kind of took everything in stride, and I really put a lot of eggs in that basket. I tried my butt off to get what we were doing over. And when the end of the year awards came out, I thought for sure I was going to win Superstar of the Year based on all the hard work and everything we did. And I came in second place in the voting. So that was kind of a letdown. And this year, fast forward one year, and I did win that award. And it was like it felt really good. I had put 3 years into that company, so to finally be told that you're the best men's superstar on the roster by that third year, it's that little pat on the back I needed. But now it's like, what do you want to do next?
Well, no, and I mean I remember back when I had made a VSW and yearly award magazine. I decided to put it out, and I think it inspired a bunch of people to put out magazines. And I remember NCW did one not that far long after, and they had a whole article on you and like how dominant you would really be, like because I think even at that point then and from then on, you've been somebody on a lot of people's radars, not the wrestlers, but like promoters, because you're a dominant force. And you show up to win. And it's not just NCW and it's not just, Supernova. I mean, you got what? Green Mountain. You dominated in that. You've held gold there, correct?
Not yet. We have Green Mountain Championship currently held by Mike Skyros. He's the inaugural
But
champ.
didn't you have tag gold at one point or no?
That was in a different company,
Oh, okay.
Eastern Townships Wrestling Association, ETWA.
Okay, there we go. Um I knew there was an E somewhere in there. But yeah, I mean, you wherever you go, you've made a name where you've either gotten into top contendership for a title or you've held some sort of gold tag singles. I mean, you've had great matches even in Supernova. You fought former WWE stars. You're fighting all these people. I mean, how was that? Was that kind of surreal?
Yeah, it's unreal. Like sometimes you want to pinch yourself. You think you're dreaming. Like I remember, my early 20s throwing on my television screen, and there's a guy like Drew Gulak popping up. I think the first time I was introduced to him was during the Cruiserweight Challenge. He gets signed. He's on NXT. He's on 205 Live. He's on SmackDown. He's on Raw. He's wrestling on SummerSlam pay-per-views. I believe he held the Cruiserweight Championship for a period of time. Um, and when that all came about, uh, the nervousness was there, but sometimes it's a good thing. And, I'm glad I was nervous because it meant a great deal for me to be in that situation, and you can look at it two ways. Like, sure, you've done everything you've had to do to get to this point, but also you still got to go out there and perform. And for the company to trust me with somebody of that caliber meant a lot. Um, Drew Gulak was able to teach me a lot of things, both inside and outside the ring. I'm very grateful for that, and I'm just trying to build on top of it because if I don't do that, then what's the point? What's the point of facing a guy like Drew Gulak if you're not going to try to level up? If you're going to try,
Well, that's what I was going to ask you. I mean, right now, let's just say, I mean, like, what is your point in your career? What is your goal? What are you trying to do in independent pro wrestling at this point?
I remember when I first started out, it was like I want to get signed, I want to get signed, I want to get signed, and when I first started 9 years ago, there wasn't as many opportunities. Now there are a whole lot more opportunities, and with me being in my middle 30s, I'm trying to be as realistic as possible. I do still have those dreams, ambitions, and goals of performing on a televised, program with a contract. But each year that goes by, I approach each match like it could be my last one.
That
Uh,
is true. I mean,
so
it
it's
could
still
be just because injury is inevitable, anyways, in wrestling. Some people get injured doing mundane things and not even trying, and you end up with some paralyzing injury or something that just takes so long to recover that by the time you recover, it's kind of like, is this worth it? And I'm not saying that's going to happen, but I think it's a good mentality to give every match like that because if you do, then every match is going to be your best or better than the last.
that's the idea is to take each one that comes and be like 1% better than the previous one.
And
Um,
I mean WWE. If you're looking at them, I mean, okay, mid 30s probably hard to get into if you haven't
Absolutely.
worked major shows. But there's all sorts of things like GCW. There's MLW, and even
Yeah.
AEW. They don't really, they have a wide range of people.
Right. I got a taste of it. I was on GCW in the Scramble.
Yep.
Um, I don't care if this gets me heat. Obviously, I've been on your podcast plenty of times. I think this is just a fact. This is how I feel. I feel like they severely underestimated me and my abilities by putting me on the first match in the Scramble. I'm going to make it a goal to prove a lot of people wrong in the sense that I feel like I should be featured for that show. I wasn't featured at all. I was the last pick. It's nice to be picked, but I do feel like I deserved to
Well,
be
see, that's where I think
featured.
is a little conflicting for me because then I see something like that, and then I see you fighting Gulak, and I'm like, well, you're fighting a former WWE star over here, and yet they're throwing you in a scramble there. And I mean, I'm not saying you go for the world GCW title and fighting
No,
FU,
no, no,
whoever's
not
in,
yet.
but
Not
there's a
yet.
couple of, you could have been the third match in or second match in on the main card.
Yeah. I think when they come back around a second time, and if I get another opportunity, that's where I'll show everybody that, I think people made a mistake by, underestimating me and my abilities. And
But
it's
it's
on
not
me.
like but see, I already right there like your attitude. I don't mean to cut you off, but you're already like, most people be like, well, they didn't trust me, or they didn't think I was good. Fuck them. I don't want to work for them. And you're like, no, I'm gonna go back and show them that I'm
Yeah.
even better.
I want a
That they
second chance.
underestimated, they screwed up.
I want a second chance real bad. I don't know when it's going to happen. I don't know how it's going to, I don't know if it ever is going to happen, but I'm putting it out there in the atmosphere. If I ever get that chance again, when I ever get that chance again, I'm going to make it something where, it's fulfilling for me, where I feel like, this is the right thing. Not to say it was the wrong thing. It's just that I felt like I should have been, hey, Johnny Pierce is going to be on this show, and that didn't happen, and it's frustrating. But I put my brave face on, my game face on, and did what was asked. It's just not lost on me that they had all these people, picked out for the show, and I kind of slipped through the cracks in a way.
And do you think that's just because your lack of working, like, I wouldn't say because you've worked a lot of promotions, but there's still a few higher end promotions that I haven't seen you at. I haven't seen you, and I could be wrong, but I haven't seen you at like a Beyond show yet. I haven't seen you at Blitzkrieg Pro. I haven't seen you, I don't think, on Limitless card yet. And those are just like the three top IWTVs that I think GCW watches. And do you think that hinders it a little? So it makes it almost
Yeah,
harder because you haven't worked these showcase promotions. You have to work even harder on the lower promotions.
I think there's some of that where I've been on Limitless once in a Rumble or a Battle Royal, and it was quick. I was on the pre-show for Focus Pro. I've never done anything for Blitzkrieg. And I think you had mentioned another one. What was the other one?
Beyond wrestling
Yeah, I
or wrestling open.
haven't gone to Beyond or Wrestling Open yet. And candidly speaking with you, part of it is because I don't want to be the guy who's not ready. You get that chance, you don't do well, and they say, "Hey, we'll bring you back sometime." When you get better. When I get that opportunity, I want to be good enough where, I become a fixture, and you see me maybe not every week, but every other week, or maybe not every month, but every other month, where it's a consistent basis. And there is that little bit of fear of failure that comes in, self doubt, but I'm
Well, I
working
mean,
on it.
there's that anywhere. I mean, for instance, that's what I was gonna. My follow up question would be like, this podcast, there's episodes, there's short films, there's things that people, they make or they get ready, but they don't want to put it out yet, or they're not ready, or they
Of
hold
course,
from doing it.
perfectionist,
How
right?
are you gonna? How are you yourself gonna know you're ready for the next level if you don't try and fail or
Yep.
try and succeed? How are you gonna know?
So I think that's been my whole approach this year is, to take that leap of faith on myself and take a chance on myself and put myself in those uncomfortable situations where there is high risk, high reward. And, I'm not so afraid of falling on my face because then I can just get back up and dust myself off. The other side of it is I think there's been a big misunderstanding between the character that I portray and the human being that I am. So I'm working on that as well. People will see the cold hard truth, Johnny Pierce, and they think that I'm really like that as a human being, and I guess I'm pretty good at playing a character. So some people can't differentiate between the two, and I'm
Well,
working
I mean,
on it.
I always looked at wrestling as both, it's that perfect blend between theater and sport because you need to play a character and you need to play it well. If you're a bad guy, I want to know and think that you're a bad guy. And I don't
Yeah.
care what you do off a camera, but if I see you, I still want you portrayed. Ava ever did it perfect when she would come out and sign for fans because she would act so like, I don't care, and just scribble or do whatever, or, do things upside down and just stay in character. No, I'm not saying when the curtain closes and everything, you're talking to, the management team that you're gonna stay in character and start, cutting promos on the boss. But around fans, I appreciate that kind of shit. Now that's good work in my opinion. But yes, I think some people would probably think, hey, he's this asshole character. That's probably how he is in real life. Let's not, approach him, or we can't deal with him, or he's not right, or whatever it might be. And it's just like, the end of the day, you're creating a character, you're molding it as you go. It's probably changed, many times since that time that you came out with the mask.
Hmm.
How many iterations of Johnny Pierce have you seen? How many little small changes have we made that made you who you are today? It's been a whole series of them. So it's like, I don't know. I feel that though. I feel like it's hard to prove yourself when you don't even know who to prove yourself to.
I think what I've been doing is trying to prove myself to myself.
That's what
Um,
it sounds like.
as long as I'm comfortable with the product that I'm putting out, if I can hang my hat on, my level of effort in my performance, if I gave everything I had in the tank for that particular day, whether it be 100%, if I come in with 90%, if as long as I give that 90% to the ring, that makes me feel good. And the only person that I'm really worried about is that man in the mirror. And if people aren't comfortable with me being me, um, that's really not that's really not on me, as long as I'm comfortable with myself.
Well, I mean, yes and no. I mean, I wouldn't condone going out and trying to offend people, but don't change yourself on accordance to others either. There's a line that you don't cross, and in
Yeah,
life in general, there's
you
things
just
that you
have to
shouldn't
hold
do and
right.
do.
You have to hold yourself accountable. If you make a
Yes,
mistake, you have to own up to it, and you have to learn from it and not make it again. I'm a firm
but
believer in second chances. I think a lot of people these days, once you make one mistake, they kind of just write you off forever, hold the grudge. What have you done for me lately? And I don't really gel or vibe with people like that because, we're humans and human nature. We make mistakes. So
that's
what do you
human
do?
nature.
What do you do after you make that mistake? That's kind of where I come in, and I'm trying to see.
Well, I mean, the
Okay,
mistake isn't the problem. I think, like I said, how you handle the mistake. Do you change from it? Do you become a better person, or
yeah,
do you not and repeat that mistake over and over? It all depends. You shift the blame on somebody else, or do you own up to it?
yeah,
It all matters on what kind of person we are. Everybody's a little different, but I mean, what you're talking about doesn't sound like a bad way of life. I mean, you're owning up to the things that you do, and
yeah,
like I said, no one's perfect. If we were perfect, we wouldn't make mistakes. We'd be gods. We'd be
yeah.
something different.
Everybody
We
would
wouldn't be
get
humans.
along, and there'd be, no good,
No,
no
we would
bad.
still have fights because everybody would be perfect. But who would be perfect? Somebody would have to
That's
be
the
more
most
perfect than
perfect.
somebody. Yes.
Um, yeah. I mean, I'm adapting. I think especially in wrestling, you got to adapt. There's no written handbook on how to act, how to be, what to say, what not. You got to figure it out.
No.
Some
You
people
have
have
to.
more help than others, and some people don't have any help at all.
Would you say I mean, in some ways, you almost have to adapt to society. I mean, like for instance, the way people cut promos 30 years ago was different language than they
Much
use
different.
20. That's different language than 10. That's different than today. There's things
Look
that
at
you can't say today.
the Attitude Era. Like they had to adapt to society. What was it back then? Like a grunge and like a punk kind of thing taking over. F you, I won't do what you tell me. And they all adapted to that. Nowadays, it's more of a PG era, so we're adapting to that.
I mean, some of the way they objectified women today is not acceptable. Back then, it was just considered part of the show.
Yep.
So you have to adapt any which way, and like I said, even some of the way you call out your opponent, things you could say back in the day, now are very, almost offensive. They get very offensive, but back in the day, again, normal language. Everything changes, and if you don't adapt with the times, I mean, you get kind of called out on it now. You get called archaic, or people try to cancel. It depends on how far it goes or what you're
Yeah.
saying. But I've noticed that though, that some people will stick to their guns and just keep their old schlick going. And they've done it for 40 years, and I'm just like, eh,
I think you mentioned it earlier about there's that line that you just don't cross. So a lot of my promos now, I'm tiptoeing on that line. I'm trying to push the envelope, but I know there's certain times that you can't push too hard, or else someone's going to you're going to offend someone. So I want to poke the bear a little bit, but I don't want to get mauled by the bear.
safe controversy, I call it. You do it, but it's not going to cause anybody to want to shoot you.
Yep.
They might get mad. They might tell you, fuck you, Johnny, but they're not gonna try to take a shot at you. You know what I'm saying? Like you're not gonna make their day and life miserable because of something you said. And I think that's the kind of society we are. I mean, there, you go to some places and even comedy places, the comedian will roast you and stuff, and you laugh it off and it's joke. And I think that's how wrestling should be. You guys are the athletes. We're out here. We're eating a sandwich. Something. If you call us fat and out of shape, I mean, most of us would be like, probably yeah. But we give the banter. We banter it. It's when you start getting in. Some people will get into politics, religion, sexuality, all that crap. Is when I'm just like, okay, you've gone too far already off the track of what wrestling is. Stay back into the lane. I don't mind so much the body shaming if you want to call your opponent a fat fuck. Like, okay, fine. You guys are wrestlers. I don't see that being so detrimental because at the end of the day, you both are doing the same job. People like Earthquake looked fat, but he was in better shape than somebody that was skinny. He could run the ropes twice as hard. But when I get into the other stuff, I'm just like, eh. And I never seen you do it, and most of the people in New England don't. But when you start watching like out of state wrestling and shit from the Midwest and the South, you'll see all sorts of crazy fucking things being said. And you're just like, what?
Yeah.
We
I
would
don't
have
know.
riots here.
Yeah. I just feel like you gotta do it for the. Lately, I just feel like there's a lot of people in wrestling that do it for themselves, and we have to remind ourselves, what are we doing it for? There's an audience and a crowd that's paid their money to come see you, and if you're not catering to them, you're probably not getting the reactions that you think you're getting. Um, it happens in these live microphone promos, and it happens with these characters. Sometimes people have these characters that are like super like complex and have all these different layers to themselves, and it's really hard to like convey that to that audience because
You
some
got
people
12 minutes.
yeah, you only have so much time, and there's some people in the crowd who like don't know how wrestling works. Like, we know how wrestling works, but if you can easily explain to that audience, this is who I am, this is what I'm about, and get the message across, you're gonna get a better reaction, a bigger pop, more boos, more cheers, and less confusion. People just tend to overcomplicate everything now, and
Oh,
it's
they
like,
do. And I mean, granted, when I first walked in on the indie scene, I already understood what wrestling was. I had already been around the
but
business in
can you
some
imagine
ways.
if you didn't?
If I still had the mentality of I was when I was a kid before I watched documentaries and tried to get into school and stuff, it would have been wild. I would have been like, "Oh my god, this
What
is
am I
crazy.
watching?
What am I seeing?" Because
What is
there is
happening?
people there is people in this world that didn't grow up watching WWEF, every Saturday and watching pay-per-views. There's people that didn't watch that at all. They got into it later in life or decades later because they're younger. They didn't have that golden era. See, I was dragged in by Hogan and Macho Man and Warrior, but there was eras of wrestling that didn't have anybody to pull. And if there was nobody getting into it, there's people that didn't start watching it until maybe Bray Wyatt. And when they did, they're like, "What am I watching? This can't
Exactly.
be
I'm
real."
glad you mentioned that because, like, rest in peace, first and foremost. But the big knock on a character like that was that it was too much for people to handle. Sometimes it just became he was doing all this stuff with puppets and houses and playing multiple personalities that it was just too complex. And that's probably why it didn't work out in the long run, unfortunately.
No, it didn't, but it also did work in a way that it drew people in that hadn't paid attention. Someone like me who had stopped watching wrestling in 2002 because the characters for me were too dulled down. Everything became too real. If I wanted to
Yep.
watch this, I'd watch boxing
I
and
guess
UFC.
would it be fair to say that you have to find the fine line between not being bland and then not being like super overly complicated?
Well, yes, and the thing is, because at the end of the day, wrestling shouldn't be complicated. Because you want it's supposed to be an escape, someone just to go away and get and not have to think too much, have a couple of beers, maybe even, and just have a fun time. Like that's why I like little people wrestling because it's more of a just a spectacle. It's more like a carny show,
Hmm.
and they just there to entertain you and make money, and it's fine to do that because, I mean, who doesn't need money and who doesn't want to be entertained? It's a two-way streak, and I think that's what wrestling is. We come, we pay, and you guys entertain and give us a show for however long.
It's probably more than a two-way street now, thinking about it. Like, how many people are involved, right? You have the wrestlers in the ring, the referee, the people running the show, all the staff, everyone in the back, and the fans.
And you
So
got to
it's all
remember,
everybody
everybody
comes
on the
together.
card is a character. Nobody really is comes out. I mean, maybe some of the referees are the same, but like commentators and stuff aren't the same. I don't go around talking like this in real life. Like I'm a little bit different. Even when I'm doing, non-podcasting and commentary, I do the commentary. I'm gonna be doing it this year for you know, I don't know what show I'm even on, but one of the shows for Supernova. I think it's your show.
Yep.
And was it Shock?
I'm on shock now. We
Yeah.
got draft night coming up in 2 weeks
Yep.
in Lynn, Massachusetts.
Yes, I will be at that show. I talked to Adam about that. But but yeah, someone like that, I stopped watching wrestling because to me it got too real. If people start looking like average people just fighting, then it might as well be UFC or boxing, and it might as well be something different. And so I kind of got away with it because I liked the bullshit. I liked the '90s era because I thought everybody with a character, Max Moon and freaking MLB, all these people just weird, right? Doink the Clown, but it made it fun. It made it funny, and it brought excitement for me, anyways. But now you had someone like Bray Wyatt come out. Now it was complex because they went into this whole storyline of this cult and all this, but just the character, just the mask, entrance, and bam was enough to say I want to watch and tune in and see what's coming next because it was something interesting.
It definitely was interesting, and I remember when it first came about, it had me hooked. Um, when he went away and came back, I feel like it lost a lot of steam. And one of the worst things I remember watching was that Hell in a Cell match with Seth Rollins. I remember like I just had this sour taste in my mouth. This dude was like unbeatable, and all of a sudden Seth Rollins beat him.
Well, yeah. And I think, I mean, to be honest with you, I think that that whole cage match was just a whole that Hell in the Cell was just a debacle from the whole thing. Just having him beat that way and him being this, like a Jason like, character already now, supernatural. You're gonna have him come out. I'll be honest with you. I would have been happy if we never actually saw the Fiend character wrestle. That it was just an online kind of like a Piper's Pit thing without the wrestling, because I thought it was such an over the top character that it shouldn't have been put in the ring.
Sure.
Like a
Sure.
demon. You wouldn't have a demon come out and fight. It just doesn't make sense now in
No.
today's world. So, but if you have it on promos or some power behind and he had minions that come out and fight for him, then I would be like, okay, let's go.
That definitely would make more sense long in the long run. But I've been in a lot of locker rooms, and he has left a lasting impression on a
Oh,
lot
yeah.
of people. There are so many wrestlers who I don't want to say copy, because I don't think it's you can't first of all you can't copy something like that, but I don't think that's what people are doing. But they're
No, they
definitely using
tribute it. I
that
think it's a
influence.
tribute. I would call it a tribute to it.
Yeah, they're attributing to the Bray Wyatt character, whether it's the gear or the name that they come up with, or a mask,
Sister
or
Abby.
the
I've
moveset.
even seen the finisher. The finisher being almost the same.
Yeah,
You know.
a lot of Sister Abigail's, in the matches, and for that, I'm thankful. Um, he's definitely influenced me in a few ways. I think you mentioned earlier seeing me with that character I came out with. That doesn't happen without probably without a guy like Bray Wyatt.
No, I mean I grew up with Undertaker. He came out. He used to be a lot darker, in my opinion. As years went on, he kind of got lighter. Then you had a few other horror characters like Papa Shango, maybe, and Boogeyman later. But nobody with like a real solid, good horror character that didn't get like goofy. Like WCW tried to do a bunch of shit and it was just goofy. You know,
Well, what was the goofiest thing WCW did?
probably putting the title on David Arquette. I mean, I think that was pretty goofy. But I mean, no, they had that whole legion of like people that were fighting Hogan. They had like Brutus the Barber Beefcake in it and shit, and everybody was just weird. And it looked weird. Kevin Sullivan was in there, I think, too. It just looked weird. I like WCW for what it was, though. Like I used to love the Halloween Havocs and the spin the wheel matches and stuff, and people like Vader and Sting and whoever they had,
Yeah, they had
because
some cool concepts.
it was, and it was a little bit different. It was a different style of wrestling. That it wasn't this more showmanship, and so I would go back and watch a few of that. But I mostly followed WWE, because that's what I was, would rent at the video stores. That's what was there.
Yeah,
And I remember when Raw first debuted Monday nights. It was like it was '93 or something. After that, WrestleMania 9. And it was just great to have like a 1 hour weekly platform to watch wrestling because we didn't have that. We just had magazines to read every month to see stories and stuff. We didn't have anything between pay-per-views, and there was only 4 of them. Now we have them every month. There's shows twice a week. There's bada bada bada. There's a lot of mainstream wrestling, but I kind of almost liked it back then just because the less was more, and I really looked forward to these events more. Like I
yeah.
would gear myself up. WrestleMania parties were huge.
There are so many now; it's become like saturated. But when WCW would do like the wheel, I would love for an indie company to do something like that, and for me to be a part of it. Um, I've pushed for indie companies to do those ping pong balls for the rumbles to draw your
Yep.
number. I think
Oh, I love that.
NCW had done it
I
at
love
one
those
point.
old shows, like when they had
Um,
it.
yeah, I mean, that's the kind of thing that I think a lot of the indies are missing are those, you know, larger than life stipulations with different kind of matches out there. One of the things I like about Supernova is what you're going to experience in a couple weeks is now this is the second draft that we've done. We did the first draft last year, and this is year 2. So it's cool to like shake things up. You never know if you're going to end up on Vortex or Shock, and that kind of it gets a little bit suspenseful when your name gets called. So that'll be fun.
No, I'm excited for it. I remember seeing it last year, but you know, I always like that kind of draft, that kind of feel, even that kind of lottery feeling. Like you
Hey, can
mentioned,
I
pick
run
your
a?
numbers.
Let me run a mock draft by you, right? Let's
Yeah,
say you're running you're a commissioner of one of the Vortex or the Shock, and you got 2 picks back to back, right?
yeah.
Who you taking with pick 1 and pick 2, just off the top of your head?
I mean, are you on the table, Johnny?
Sometimes they won't have the champions get drafted, so we can do one if you want where all the champions are draft picks, or you can do one where champions aren't. It's really up to you.
I mean, I'm kind of a fan of Flax, though. I will say,
All right, so you would use pick
but
1 or pick 2
but
on Flash.
you know who I mean, I would go like this, Johnny. I like Flax, so I would go like this. If I had 2 people, I'd take Flax and Stevie Legend. If I could pick a champion, I would take you and Stevie Legend.
Me and Stevie.
Yeah.
All right.
I think Stevie has potential to do bad in this world, and I think that he should really embrace that dark side.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see it because I was there in October when he won the tag titles and then turned heel. And I don't think anybody expected it. As a matter of fact, when people hear about Stevie going heel, like their mouths and jaws hit the floor and they can't believe it. So this is one of those companies where they're willing to try different things that you wouldn't normally see,
And
like
I remember
draft or
talking with, and I mean, not for nothing, I remember talking with Stevie, years ago when I worked for another company that he was working for, and I was helping them book and kind of manage. And we were talking about, hey, would you ever want to go heel because you would, be the
he
least
said no, I
expected
bet,
person?
right? He said no.
No, he
He
said
said yes.
yeah. He said yeah because he would be the
Wow.
least expected person. Nobody, it would be a shock factor. And we had him with this New York guy. He was gonna do this whole thing and pull off his shirt wearing a Yankee shirt and just be this New York bastard. And then the show fell through and it just never happened. I'm glad that Supernova saw the vision and kind of took it and ran because it needed to be done.
Yeah.
Um, Stevie's a great person. He's a nice kid, but he's too nice in the ring, man, and people won't take that serious.
Well, you got a big match coming up against Security Inc.
That's
Uh,
gonna be a good fight.
so we'll see what happens. I got a big one myself
Well, I
to
mean,
challenge me,
who
and
did? Sorry, you cut out for a second.
Red Dog. Red
Oh
Dog
yes,
had
that's
a
gonna be
nice
fun.
run with the Infinite Eight Championship before he lost to David Mercury, the Technical Alchemist. He's no slouch. He won the
No.
Men's Superstar of the Year award.
I remember him from
20,
Kill City Cup, a horror movie or horror wrestling movie put out by Luke
yes,
Robert, and he's just a maniac, that guy.
he's
Madman.
very good in the ring, very good on promo. Nice guy in the locker room. So it's good to see that he's doing well in Supernova, and I know he's based in Florida. So
Yeah, he is. He's way down south, so he comes up.
I
I
hope he's
think there's
there.
also who you
I
also
hope to
got
see
who
him.
else is on there? I'm gonna forget her name, but there's a female on the show that's not usually on the show. I think she's working this one. Is it Shannon?
Shannon Levangi's working a
Yes.
trios tag
Yes,
match with
Shannon,
Team
that's a
Shannon
huge
against Team
pickup, man.
Pajak.
Like she's one of the best in New England. She got injured, but she bounced right back, and she's like one of the like most amazing wrestlers out there.
Yeah, I saw her tear it down with Che Long to become the chaotic New England champion in a tables, ladders, and doors match. So that
Oh
was amazing.
yeah, and even I like chaotic too. I think my own thing with chaotic is just they run a lot of shows, so I can only like go to like one of them a month. But they ended up like I remember before when they like ran like I said, but now they got like 2 to 3, which is nice because they're in different locations. You don't have to travel. Now I just wait till they come to Watertown. It's easier. I'll try to hit their big shows. Um, but I don't know. Sometimes on a Friday night, I don't. I'd rather wrestling on a Saturday now.
Friday
It's
night
kind of
shows
weird.
are tough. A lot of people work on Fridays, so try
As I
getting
get older,
to
I just don't like traffic, so I'm just
yeah,
like,
try getting to a show in Friday night. Rush hour traffic is pretty painful to sit bumper to bumper in traffic. Saturday shows are definitely much easier for everyone.
no, they are, and in some ways they're just like I said, I don't know. I just like the feeling. It gives you something to do. Even Sunday after. I mean, well, nobody really runs a Sunday night show. They run Sunday afternoons, which
Sunday afternoon shows, yeah.
those are pretty fun too.
I don't know
You
how a
kind of get
Sunday
in that.
night show would go. That would be interesting. I don't know if it would succeed in the long run because people got to get up Monday morning. So Sunday afternoon seems to be the only good time.
But people go to WrestleMania. They used to go to pay-per-views on Sunday night. I mean, there was a whole demo of watching pay-per-views on Sunday night. It might do better than expected.
I would hope so, but the big indie companies have a better chance of pulling that off than the smaller ones.
Well, yeah, I mean, the local people aren't gonna. I mean, unless you have that local bond. If you get a school show or something, you're in the high school, then Sunday night's almost guaranteed. If you got everybody coming in from the school and you can sell mad tickets, I would say go for it. If it's just at a hall, it's a really good chance you lose.
I like being a part of those school shows. We got one coming up at the end of the month in Middleborough for top rope, so that'll be fun.
Nice. You know, those are good shows because they connect you with the community, but it connects you with the students. And at the end of the day, you know, the students are going to graduate and they look up to you guys, you know. And like any other role model, you don't, you know, some of them might be struggling with different things. Some of them might want to be, you know, might want to do what you guys are doing.
Yo, you want to hear a funny story?
Yeah.
Back in November, we went to St. Michael's in Vermont, and let's just say I've still got it. We're leaving the show, and some of the college kids came up to my girlfriend and I and asked us to come to a party. And we did not, we respectfully declined uh, because, you know, it was late and we needed to get back home. But I just don't party anymore. And we walked away, and I looked at her and I said, I still got it. I still got
hey, hey, partying's different when you get older. So what do you got on the table? You got you got NCW coming back. You got um,
it.
you got Supernova. What else you got on the cards laid out coming up for you?
We can talk. The most recent one would be Friday at Gino's Rock Club in Portland. Um,
Now
Larry,
what?
yeah, Larry Huntley and his tag partner Blade Bandit call themselves the Scufflin' Hillbillies. Now they're taking on me and Lee Miller. We call ourselves Out Cold because we knock you out cold. Uh,
Lights out, Lee Miller.
yeah, so Cold Hard Truth and Lights Out Lee Miller, you
That's
get
clever. I like
Out
that.
Cold. They're gonna introduce the first ever NAWA tag team titles, and I like our chances to beat Scufflin' Hillbillies and become the first ever champs. But we'll see. You know, that crowd really gets
Talk
behind Larry.
talk about a Friday show. You gotta drive the 2 hours to Portland, fighting through
Yeah,
traffic. Then you gotta fight through the crowd to get into the show because it's so packed and you only got limited, you know, space.
yeah.
Somebody leaves and somebody else comes in, you're not coming back out.
I
People don't
if
even
I
go
was
outside to
there,
smoke
I
a
wouldn't leave.
cigarette.
I'd pay. I'd stay. You know, you
Yeah.
don't want to risk being told they're at maximum capacity, which happens way more often than it doesn't, and miss out. So there's that. There's we got this big trios match in Skowhegan, Maine, for Maine Premier Wrestling with
And be
Team
dub.
ODB versus Team Hecate. ODB is teaming with Taylor One Shot and Corey Duke, and Selena Hecate is teaming with me and Mark Moment.
Nice.
So that's fun. The following night, I'll defend my World Openweight title at Supernova against Red Dog. We've got Green Mountain Shamrocks and Headlocks that Sunday, the 15th. King Johnny Pierce and Queen Selena Hecate are going to run ruckshot all over everybody. Now we talking about NCW. This is deep. 2 years ago, a bad Johnny Pierce with a bad Kevin Castro were beating the bricks off of a good Mike Montero, and Steve Lust decided to interrupt our party and take the title, which I then took from him. And now, with Mike being gone for a year, he's now coming back the bad guy, and I'm the good guy with a good Kevin Castro. So you have that where it's a role reversal. Um, you were there when I went up against him and he made me bleed.
Yeah.
And a year later, he left his shoe print on my face. So I recommend everyone who is in the area or is looking for something to do on Friday, March 20th to come see. That match alone is worth the price of admission. That's not to say that the rest of the matches aren't going to be worth it, but I can guarantee you're going to get your money's worth from my match with Mike Montero because I'm going to give him a beating that he'll never forget. So I'm looking forward to that. And then there's a few things to round out the month with Top Rope in Middleborough Mania and World of Hurt in Hudson Falls, New York.
Well, you got one hell of a busy month. You know, I thought I was busy with two horror conventions, Jersey and Jersey, but damn, you got a full packed out schedule, brother. That's great though. I love to see you busy and you're
I
out
mean,
there. You're making a name. You got a lot of promotions, a lot of good promotions.
I'm
I
looking
love
to
to
add
see it.
more. I've been reaching out to a lot of companies in New York and New Jersey and Pennsylvania. Haven't really heard much back yet, but I'm hoping that changes. I'm staying patient, trying to remain humble. One of the companies I'd like to give a shout out to right now is Lucky Pro Wrestling. I just had my first successful title defense against VSK. So we
Ooh,
got
that's a good match.
we got a show in April. I don't know what's going to happen yet, but it'll be my second Hard Knocks Championship title defense.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, we're just about out of time. Where can folks follow you if they want to?
All the platforms, Johnny Pierce. That would be Facebook, X, Instagram, TikTok, and whatever else is out there. I don't know. YouTube, I guess. Make sure you check out Versace Stoner on YouTube. You're on Facebook. I don't see. You're on X, yeah,
Yeah, I do a little X, mostly
and
not though. Mostly
TikTok here and
YouTube,
there.
Facebook, TikTok here and
I know
there.
you're doing lots with your horror nights,
Yep.
so definitely check that out. I do appreciate you, man. I was like thinking I got to get on a podcast, and you get the itch and you want to scratch it, and you hit me up, and I'm so glad we were able to do this and that it was here because it has been quite some time since
It's
we've
been a
been on.
ride. It's been a ride. Like I said, I've kind of been around, you and kind of following you for quite a bit now. It seems, the years kind of passed, but you've been on this ride, and now it's a good ride though. It's the Johnny Pierce Express, man. It's
Yeah,
like
man, I'm going till the wheels fall off, and I hope people want to come with me because it's going to
hell
be.
yeah.
It already has been pretty crazy, and I think it's going to get crazier every year. This year, I'm really trying to level up to when the year is coming to an end. All the places that I hadn't, been at yet that are the higher levels, I'd like to at least be getting there by the end of the year.
Awesome, awesome, great to see it. Can't wait. I will be seeing you though, like I said, at the draft night. So we'll talk then. I will see you in person.
Sounds
Thank you.
great.
Thank
Thank
you
you
for
for
coming
having
on
me.
and talking. As always, a pleasure. It's always a great time talking to you, Johnny. Um, Everyone at home, thanks for tuning in. And as always, please support indie wrestling. Get out, check out one of these fine shows he mentioned. You're gonna want to see. It's short money for a great time. You want to see it, and you want to see Johnny just give out kickings. It's awesome. He just destroys them all. It's great. Great time. Thank you, everybody. We're out of here.